Hello, and welcome back to the Pretty Little Podcast. We're your hosts.
My name is Phoebe.
And my name is Caroline, and today we are going to be recapping Season 6, Episode 11 of Pretty Little Liars called Of Late, I think of Rosewood. I dream of Rosewood.
They definitely are dreaming about this place.
You are so freaking
and
right.
And they make that so clear. They make that so clear this entire episode that they're different. They don't want to be here like everybody else does.
Is this episode not giving, and I know we've talked about it, whether it's Delaney or there are other girls that film those TikToks where they're like coming back to your hometown after one semester at college and you're just like a little bit different? Or like you live in a big city now and you come home to your small town and you look around and you're like, yep, it's
a little
me,
ridiculous.
I'm back.
They all have the Phoebe disease of having a reason to go home or go to some place, and then people being like, so how
getting
long are you
stuck.
in town?
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't know yet.
To be determined.
Yeah, it could be any amount of time.
Could be a couple days, could be a couple weeks, could be a couple months.
Be a month. I told Taylor that I was going to the lake, and she goes, for how long? And I said, well, and she goes, I'm going to stop you there. You don't know. you don't know how long.
It's like, let me guess. You're just like Hannah Marin, Phoebe. You're in your Hannah Marin era, where she is just a freaking jet setter. I'm like, and good for you, Hannah. Good for you, Hannah, getting everything you want. And Aria, I'm sorry you're so jealous, but you better shut the hell up and not be such a bitch to your friends at the brew. Which we'll get to, but like I just couldn't. I was
a little bit like, whoa, coming in incredibly
and
hot.
Shots fired like one after the other. Like you can tell it's like, okay, so Aria and Spencer are talking every day. Aria is not talking to Emily and Hannah as much, and she wants them to know, I've noticed you don't reach out to me as much. I've noticed. Aria's not reaching out, but that's not the point. You know what I mean?
it's not her
that's
problem.
That's not the point. Yeah, this episode is nuts. Wait, I have to do the recap. Not that I want to, not that I'm dying to, and I'm reminding you, don't take away my recap from me.
I had a dream that we got on here and you were like, and I thought I'd try my hand at the memory game.
Oh.
And you like tried to do it from memory like I did last week.
Well, how did I do?
I don't remember.
Because famously, like Mona, I have some identical qualities, you could say.
Mona is back with the emotional warfare.
Mona, I love you. God, I love you, Mona. And Mona, if you killed Cece, we won't say
tell.
anything about it. Yes, it's okay. All right. So the one thing about my recap is that I didn't organize it the way I normally do. So there you go. But the thing is, it's so weird to be like, we're at the time jump now. So am I supposed to recap everything that happened in the last 6? Because that's sort of what you need to know going into this episode. Well, yes, Caroline, exactly. We'll reconvene in 10 hours. Yeah, I mean, you know everything that's happened. But basically, last episode, we found out that Cece, Charlotte De Laurentiis, is the mastermind behind this A game, it seems. And it all stems from this animosity towards her family, who didn't accept her for who she was, sent her to Radley. She got framed for killing Toby's mother. It was actually Bethany Young. She got out, Cece got out, and then she killed Bethany Young, but she thought it was Allie. And then Jess D, or no, she thought it was Bethany Young, but she hit Allie over the head with a rock and thought she killed her. So then Jess D comes out and buries her own daughter, alive, I might add. And then it turns into this whole thing. You know what happened, you guys, okay? We've been talking about it for 5 seasons. One thing we didn't know, or I didn't know, even though Phoebe tried her best to spoil it for me, is that Shower is also a bad guy. But Emily socked her in the jaw, and as far as I'm concerned, that was a death shot. Okay, that was a death shot. Shower Harvey should be dead. I saw how hard that was, okay? And then the girls are basically like, okay, we're good. Cece like gets arrested. She's sent to Radley. It seems like things in life can be normal and can be a thing of the past. The girls are going off to college. Spencer quotes Winnie the Pooh as they're leaving. It's this very wholesome moment. And we get a 5-year later time jump where Allison De Laurentiis is a teacher. And that is where we begin our story today.
Smoky eye to first period.
I was blown away. Well, here a few things I'll say about Allie. Number one, I do think she looks gorgeous in this first scene. I think, is this a wig? Like her hair, it looks great. She's got like this just super thick, pretty hair. I know that her makeup is not appropriate for what we're working with here. And no, the outfit is not my favorite, but I do think she looks very, very pretty in this opening scene.
Yeah. And it's just another like, I wish that they and for Sasha Peters' sake as well, like I just wish they had taken the care to like dress Allison at this point in her life
yes
in a way that was instead of just like hiding the changes in her body, which is what it seems like they're trying to do. And also it just seems like they don't know how to dress it, which is crazy
I'm also
to me.
just like, I'm confused. It bothers me a little bit because the other thing is they are dressed, I don't want to talk about anyone's bodies, like, but it's not like they're dressing all 11-year-old girls. You know what I mean? It's not like Allie's body type was the only body type they knew how to dress. We have mature women on the show. We have mothers. We have people of different heights and weights and body types, you know? So it's like it's not like they only know how to dress one type of person. So that's why it's like confusing that they can't figure out how to dress her when like just, I don't know. It's weird. I think also it's because like Allie is just such a weird character at this point because although she's like the impetus for all of this, and yes, she's like in all of the show, she's a memory for most of it. And like we don't really get to know her at all. Like I know nothing about Allie except for like what through the other girl, done. You know, exactly. Yeah. Or what's happened because of her or to her, whatever. But I don't know like what her style would be. And I don't know that she knows that either. But at this point she should. It's been 5 years. So like, can we get a little bit of personal style? You know what I mean?
It definitely, it's just, they didn't, I don't know. I think because it also, the thing is that, and I'm only talking about it because I know that Sasha Peters has talked about it. Like, I feel like the conversation exists.
I also like this. I know that Phoebe and I are boards. We're so thin. It's like actually crazy.
Right. It's
and everyone's honestly like, you guys are bad for women. People are always like, you and Phoebe are bad for women because you're literally like setting a bad example for women on like what their body should look like. But real talk, like we understand what it's like to be like, I have to dress a body that isn't a stick thin body.
Exactly.
And so we're not talking about it from a shitty perspective. We're saying we like understand.
They should just have the resources to be able to dress a body that's changed. And also in a way that like they are making it seem like she gained way more weight than she did. Yeah. Like she's still not like, I
thought she looks very normal and they're just dressing her in clothes that they like wouldn't. They're also not dressing the other girls in clothes like this. And they're all supposed to be the same age. So I'm like, it's not like Allie's more mature than all. I know she's a teacher, but like even when she's not at work, we don't have to have like the billowing blouses and the like
and the
calf
big, long
length.
skirt.
Yeah, like the calf length A-line skirts, and it's just like she's just being dressed a little bit matronly is really what it is. And it's like she's young, so she can be the trendy teacher. Or you know what, just do what you did with Ella and put her in fucking like jeans and a shirt and a cardigan,
jeans and
like,
a t-shirt.
I mean literally though, like that's what Ella was wearing.
I agree.
Like, and it was fine. Teachers can wear, I don't know, I mean she looks, again, I think she looks cute, but I do know that this is an ongoing issue and it continues to be an issue. And I know that she has spoken about it. And like, it's something that also you and I are very, and also like, one day I'll speak about, but like, it's really not that hard to find clothes. It kind of reminds me,
and I don't want to speak on Sasha's experience, but it does remind me of when Renee Rapp talked about coming out for the investors of Mean Girls.
Dude, that story like sends a shiver down my spine.
It's like suddenly this thing that I didn't think was maybe that made me look that different.
Yeah.
Now everybody in my life is drawing attention to it.
God,
and like making me feel worse about it.
Yes. God, remember that story too? The worst part of that story was that she gets called in for this investors run. No one else is in costume. She walks on stage. She is the only person in costume. And they had her, I think, wearing a skirt before, and they put her in pants. And she walks out and she just turns around and realizes like, oh. And I mean, I'm sorry, I would have gotten violent. I don't know what I would have done, but I wouldn't have had a job anymore. That's for sure. So as we're going into Rosewood, I thought it was interesting. We hear a voiceover montage of some of their old lines. And why? Okay, first of all, Aria is the only one that gets 2, I want to say. And the other thing is, why is the very first one Aria saying, don't look at me. I'm ready to hang a sign. Bitch can see. That has nothing to do with this episode.
They said, let's get all the iconic lines out. They're just like, well, it's because we're coming back through the hallowed halls. And they want to remind us of all the great memories we have.
It's just like, that's the one we're choosing for Aria. I mean, we have multiple. Then Spencer says, this is about betrayal. And Mona says, it's not about betrayal, Spencer. It's about revenge. So I guess that's her A reveal. Then we get Hannah. He knows we're lying, so stop pining for the fjords and carpe hottie. Which I don't even know what that line is. I'm guessing it's about Aria and her fake Iceland boyfriend.
Maybe. I don't have a clue.
But do you remember? I have no idea. And then Aria has a line, I know it's over. I know that. Which we know as her line to Ezra. And then Emily, and yes, I know the dead girl who isn't dead anymore. And yes, I have always been green. It is the same line.
Oh my gosh.
And then we get a quote of Allie.
Wait, we'll talk. Sorry, I forgot that we have the podcast.
Yeah,
I need to write that down though.
Then we get a quote of Allie, but it's not a quote from the past. It's actually a quote from the present because she is now a teacher at Rosewood. Insane to think that she didn't go to college at the same time they all went to college, but she's already got a teaching gig in this school. Although I guess I should have known it's not that hard to get a teaching gig at Rosewood. Okay, I take it back.
Yeah.
Okay, I solved my own issue.
Yeah, thanks, Caroline, for saving us some time there. The class is dismissed. Allie got a little carried away.
I'm like, okay, is this just like a disease you get when you teach at Rosewood? Because it's such an Ella Montgomery thing. She's reading this passage and the bell rings and she's like, oh, I got a little lost. Tomorrow you'll read to me. No, you don't just forget that you have 30 nose pickers in front of you, okay? You don't just forget.
That's how Caroline was when she would be reading out loud in high school, and they'd be like, all right, Caroline, you have to popcorn someone, and then the bell rings and she's like, sorry, I got lost.
I get a little memory maybe. That's how I am now when I'm teaching my musical theater classes and like maybe a kid is absent that day, so I get to read their lines and I'm like, okay, but why doesn't she have more lines? Oh, I wrote the script. Okay, I want your line too. I love getting a moment to act. Okay, anyway.
This man approaches and it's Cece's doctor.
Dr. Rollins.
And basically we learn that the judge is setting a trial, kind of a trial for Cece to see if she's gonna be able to be let out of the hospital because Allie has been taking care of her sister.
Right, of course. Allie's been working closely with Dr. Rollins. And this hearing is happening in 4 days and she goes, hang on. I want to enclose something in the court notifications. And she starts writing. And we can only assume that what she's writing are these individual letters to her former best friends.
Did she make Dr. Rollins stand there and wait while she wrote
my question exactly
page-length letters?
Hey, Allie, put a stamp on it. Send it in the mail. Not his job.
And is that allowed? Is that allowed to go into, like, I feel like that's probably...
What?
Like, that probably isn't allowed to be literally enclosed in the court.
I was going to say, like, yeah, why don't you just call him up? What would happen if you just called Taylor up?
I feel like the government isn't going to want you to, like, sway what someone would.
Yeah.
So, like, that's probably not above board.
And as we know, that is just not something Allie's concerned with. That is just not right. A concern of Allie's. So he's like, never. Listen, you know, the court might make your friends come, but that does not mean that your friends are going to be sympathetic. And Allie's like, no. They always do what I want. She's like, you don't get it.
And they'll do whatever I ask. Everybody in town, the girls are so clueless to how this looks. And the whole town is like, here they go.
Yep.
Following Allie's bat
literally. Like they're like, no, I'm not. Like every single one of the girls like, how dare you? And it's like, well, it's kind of like your whole thing. That has literally been your whole thing. So we find out like where the girls are. Spencer is sitting on Capitol Hill, just reading this letter from Allie.
That is the funniest shot to me.
I know.
Like the fact that they're like, okay, we'll have you sit on a bench and then we'll just put
the Capitol
in the back
behind you. So she's in DC. She's a lobbyist. Aria, I guess, is an author.
No, she's in publishing. She was
Okay.
like, I think that shot was made to make you think.
Because I was like, I'm sorry,
author.
if this bitch is already published, I'm gonna be so annoyed.
No, I think they wanted us to think that at first because we get this shot of Aria at like a book signing sitting in a chair, but I think she's like she's making sure that the places are right for the author to come sit in the chair, and then she gets up and she looks longingly at this book called Ostinato, and who wrote it? But Z. And that's his name on there. Z Fitz is his author name. It means
a continually repeated musical phrase or rhythm. Okay, whatever that means. Hannah is on a plane next to a baby, and they definitely want us to think that it's her baby, but thank God it isn't. Someone comes and takes the baby, and so Hannah's been summoned, and then Emily is a bartender, and she is flirting with every girl that comes through that surf shack.
She's wearing a shirt that says, if you like pina colada, which is giving Caroline when she worked at Taco Diablo.
Oh my God, it is giving me when I worked there. If I had a shirt that said like tequila,
her bob.
I had a bob, and I had a tank that said hot girls drink tequila or something like that. And I wore that with like a cardigan. But honestly, like I literally served and I served. But that was a terrible haircut.
I love that picture that Dad took of you where you have your bob and you're like yelling at Dad.
I'm like making a face at the bar, and he's just taking photos of me as I'm making margs, as I'm hawking margs. Anyway, Emily is literally like 5 years hasn't changed Emily one bit. She's got the Shay Mitchell smirk, the Shay Mitchell sway. Like she at this point has seen Megan Albadress's TikTok, and she has started taking notes from her. Like that's the vibe we're getting here. But they're all coming back.
We have this voiceover that Allie's just like, give me 5 minutes. 5 minutes of your time and I'll explain.
Oh my God.
And then we go to Rosewood Times Square, and Spence is the first to arrive. And I
just
want you to know,
first
guys,
we get Allie and Cece talking. And we see that Cece is institutionalized somewhere.
Cece says, do you think they're still upset with me? Not mad at me.
No.
Do you think they're still upset?
Allie's like, oh my God, Cece, I can't even believe you would ask that. Of course not. Of course they're not. And I'm literally like, I'm sorry, but I mean, I think they're trying to make Cece seem so childlike. Like they pan over to the teddy bear on the bed. Like they're trying to make it seem like this is Allie's little sister, and Allie is now trying to take care of her and like all these things. Right. And it's like, I'm sorry, but have you ever seen the movie Orphan? I don't care if it's your little sister. She can still be fucking pure evil. I'm sorry. Like, no, you don't get to come out now. Sorry. Right?
Yeah, you had your turn.
You had like
outside.
Way too many chances, okay? And like you botched it. Sorry, you botched it. Okay. So anyway, but she's like, you think they're still upset? Like she's excited to see them, like they're her besties too. And that is where I'm
which should be concerning.
And I think
which should be concerning behavior.
And I'm like, okay, the fact that she's not a child and she's so childlike and she thinks the people she locked in her dollhouse are her literal friends and dolls, that's a sign. She's good where she is.
Hey, Allie, the girls haven't forgotten about that.
No.
What you went through with Cece is very different than what the girls went through.
Yeah, and by the way, Allie, the girls were held hostage and tortured, and you were not.
You weren't.
So you actually shouldn't get a say in this. Like, you didn't even know Cece. You just thought Cece was your brother's cool girlfriend. And actually what you learned should make you like, wait, okay, you are my brother's uncool ex-girlfriend. Like, okay, you're actually a freaking loser. That's the path you should have taken, Allie. Sorry.
And so we're in Rosewood Times Square, and Spencer, this is the Delaney scene, but it's also what I meant when I told you I wanted to come home looking 24 in my peacoat.
Knew it. This is what Phoebe, and you know what, Phoebe, I want to let you know, you did it. Mission accomplished. You came home in that fucking peacoat, and I was like, okay, she's giving 24. Okay, that is a 24-year-old if I have ever seen one, is the first thing I thought. So when we went to go see Santa on Christmas Eve and you were in that peacoat sitting on Santa's lap, I was like, and that's a 24-year-old who still believes in Santa.
Thank you. And walking into the children's church with my family for the 23rd year in a row. I wanted to be walking uptown in a cable knit sweater with my peacoat
looking
on,
around and like, yeah, it's
looking
me, I'm
around
back.
at my old haunts.
I'm working in the big city, Nashville, Tennessee. Nash Vegas, also known as Nash Vegas. Anyway, so Spencer is looking around like, is anyone gonna notice me? And said she notices. It's giving Mean Girls, where Katie walks back and she sees plastics and she envisions them getting hit by a bus. Like, that is what we're seeing here. All these girls are sitting outside of Lucky Leon's, and I'm like, how lucky you are to be sitting there, not even giving a thought to the horrors that happened in that very seat before you, just years before. Hannah Marin and the pig cupcakes, that's what I'm referencing. Okay, anyway. They're all sitting out there. I like how we have one blondie, because it's just meant to show us that yes, this is supposed to be you guys. Yeah. And then they all get a text at the same time, and they're like, oh my God. And then it's just an Amber Alert. So.
Spencer looks like she's about to like square up
like,
with whoever's in the text.
Oh my
she's
God.
like, oh my God, I'm going to have to get involved.
Yeah.
And then they all laugh. And she's like, oh wait.
They're just making fun of someone. They're just making fun of someone and laughing. They just got a cool TikTok.
And there's nothing like that.
There's nothing that brings people together like that. Is Emily on drugs now? What's up? She's taking pills?
Yeah.
Great.
And we don't hear anything about it until,
no, except that she doesn't, because guess what? Emily does not want us to know. Yeah, that's why we hear nothing.
It's about what I think it's about. We're not going to find out for like an episode or two.
Hey, Fee, it should be about what you think it's about, because again, you have seen this.
I know, but I don't know if this was like just something they never tied up and then something else happens later.
Someone messaged us and was like, okay, not me feeling the exact same way Caroline feels when Phoebe doesn't remember something from the show. I was like, okay, I'm not crazy. But it was so funny. So now that our episodes go out at 5 a.m., which, by the way, guys, say thank you, Phoebe. Like, how awesome is that? And it is crazy how many people listen before I'm even awake. Like, that is crazy.
I noticed that too.
Yeah, I was like, oh, we should have been doing this. Anyway, but it's so funny because it's like I'm like logging on for work and I get this influx of messages of people answering all the questions that we ask. And I was like, oh, this is the crew we need to be targeting. The morning crew is who we need to target with our questions, because they're going to remember the opening shift. They're going to remember and message us and tell us the answer. So we got multiple people answering.
I have
like,
a question for y'all. How long are your commutes? Like, because how do you listen to the whole episode in the morning?
Maybe
my assumption is like
when they're like getting ready. You know?
I guess so.
And then
I just can't imagine someone wanting to hear our voice as soon as they open their eyes in the morning.
It is a harrowing thought, but I believe there are people. I know now that there are people out there that have that very thought. And this
good
girl,
morning, guys.
Good morning.
Have
good
a good day at work.
Do you like listening to my hello bright and early? Did I break your eardrums?
Maybe we should start saying good morning now that we're morning birds.
Hey, good morning. This is Caroline coming to you in the morning crew with 5 a.m. Driving to work. That's how I'm going to start talking in these episodes. And just in the beginning, and then by the end of it, I'm going to full yell. So that way I'm just easing you in to your day. But this girl responds, she's like, I feel the same way you feel. And then she was also like, and this is what happened to Jess. And I think we find out for sure next season. And then she was like, and you guys have 30 episodes left. Season 6 is not a bridge. Like, they're like sending like all the things, like letting us know. Cause we were like, can someone look and tell us how many episodes? She's like, no problem. 30. Which is more than
30 is crazy.
It's way more than I thought. And I'm kind of happy. I'm like, okay. Cause I was getting a little bit in my feels, like leaving the high school girls behind. I was like, oh my God, it feels like, well, I figured that out. So now I'm like, oh, okay.
Right. Exactly. So Hannah comes up behind her with her hands over her eyes. And we see that girl is engaged to someone with a lot of money.
Money, honey. And then Aria and Spencer walk in and they immediately take a bunch of selfies together.
Spencer goes, get a room. And then Aria says, gonna need to be a big room.
Not for you. You might be small, but you are fierce, or whatever they say to her in every episode.
Yeah. And then we get like a 30-second montage of a ton of selfies that the girls took.
And
together.
I'm like, oh, that's where these pictures came from that I see all the time. Yeah, got it. So we find out Hannah's working in fashion. She's signing NDAs, just like us. Hannah's also engaged. And this is when Hannah shows her the ring. And Aria goes, it looked a lot bigger when you posted it. And like, she's joking, but like, that's not funny. And everyone laughs like it's a hilarious joke. And I'm like,
I feel like, well, I think that the joke was more like it looks bigger
now. Yeah.
And maybe that's why they all laugh.
But it still is just like, that is so classic Aria.
That one didn't even bother me. The next one bothers me more because then we start talking about Emily. and they're like asking her about what she's doing and like how school is and all this stuff. And Emily is like, Emily, no, wait, playing it cool right now.
It happens though because Hannah's like, we're going to be doing a destination wedding. We're looking into Italy. And Emily's like, oh, I met an Italian girl once, and like does her little Shay Mitchell eye flicker. And then go ahead.
And then Aria says, no wonder it took you an extra year to graduate college.
My jaw dropped.
Are you insane? Are you insane?
I was like, that's a double assassination. That's a double homicide. Like, you just literally looked at Hannah and you gave, and I'm also like, cause I'm like, no shade, but when Aria gets engaged, it's not going to be a traditional ring, if any ring at all. Like, she'll be like, we could, like, paper rings, vibes.
Tattoo, like X's
she's
and
just gonna get like like a barbed wire ring tattooed around her finger or whatever. Or she's gonna get like a tiny, tiny, tiny thing and just be like, we're not into material things like that. You know what I mean? And it's like, Aria, that's not true. That's actually just not true about you.
You famously are.
You actually are. Anyway, I just think I'm like, okay, so Aria hasn't changed at all. Time has not changed Aria one bit.
And we learned that again later when she can't. And I know that like they all thank her for it, but I am like, of course it's you.
And it's like, just what she needs is to feel like she's the one who like, okay,
exactly.
You know what? I'm brave. I can do this.
And now she's gonna feel like she's the blood of a killer again.
Skin of a killer.
Skin of a killer and blood of a killer. Spencer is like asking Emily about this institute that she's working at, and she's like, I'm gonna want a tour of all that architecture. And this is where I'm like, Emily, if you need to be playing it cool right now, you need to be a little like more open.
Yeah.
She's not booking her flight to LA right now. As you're talking.
Right.
She's like, oh, we're not doing tours right now, actually. So.
Emily's like, I don't want you to, for no reason. She like immediately gets so bizarre. And then we find out that Aria has a boyfriend named Liam.
It's giving Rory in the Gilmore Years Later, like the new thing that came out a couple years ago. It's giving her and that boy.
You're right.
And it might be the same actor, and maybe that's why I think it. We do meet him.
I also just feel like Aria is just giving Rory and that like Gilmore 5 years later or whatever. And then Spencer's too busy to date, but apparently she did date the ambassador's son until the regime change. So we're just catching up a little bit, and then we kind of get down to business, why we're really here. They all have to go talk at this hearing about how they feel about Cece getting out. So they're not testifying, they don't have to lie, and they also don't have to like say this is what happened. They really just have to say what they feel. They're not going to be under oath or anything like that. And they're like, we've had 5 A free years. Look at what, like, we now know what our lives could be without A. And I think all this time it was like, who knows what could be possible if A wasn't here? Like, we feel so restricted by this, and we feel like we can't leave, and we can't go like sow our wild oats and chase our dreams because of A. And now look, it was as good as we thought it could be. Like, we had the 5 years, and for most of us, we're doing what we wanted to do. Life is great. And now A wants to come out. Like, hell no. I'm sorry. 5 years is also just not enough time for like what Cece did. And if Cece is I don't know. I just don't think it's enough time.
If I wonder if we looked at the Pennsylvania law, if someone kidnaps, abducts 4 girls, 6 girls,
I feel like if the time should like compound, you know, like for each girl.
If it were a criminal sentencing and not like you were deemed unfit for trial because of like if you pled insanity, what would your sentence be in prison for that? Probably like at least 20 years.
Yeah.
So it's like 5 years is not
well
enough.
And like, I'm sorry, but there are murders here too that we're not talking. It's just not like any of these girls, but like, right? Like Cece definitely killed people.
Yeah.
And then also she tried to blow up Radley. Like she tried, like that's probably like terrorism. Like I can think of so many things, and I understand that she's mentally unwell, but then if that's the case, I don't know that 5 years was enough to like rehabilitate her. And even if it is, like, wouldn't you just want to be sure? Like, I just feel like this isn't like someone who it's like, oh, we can afford to give her the benefit of the doubt. Like, she's proven time and time again that she cannot be given the benefit of the doubt, you know?
Exactly. So we go to the Fields house, and Pam is walking Emily up, and we find out that Pam had a BF.
I wrote, who the hell's Greg? Who the hell is Greg? Craig Conover?
That
Pam. Pam. Literally. Okay, actually, good for you. Pam and Craig Conover.
Sir.
Didn't see it coming, but don't hate it. He's getting his white picket fence dreams, you know.
Yeah. Boots down.
Boots down.
And we find out that Wayne unfortunately passed away and Emily has to have her Delaney moment. And I know that it's emotional, but it is like,
well,
they needed us to know that Wayne died. So they have Emily and Pam walk into the house and they have Emily look at this gold star in the window and like tap it
and like put her hand
and,
like
look at
hey
it.
dad.
Yeah.
It's like in New York Minute when they have Ashley Olsen walk down the steps and like see the picture of her mom. She's like, hey mom. And like that in that all those movies, you know what I mean? Like that's what this is. But also like I was like, okay, you're like, I know it's emotional, but it wasn't. I'm like also
well, I think he's been
not that long though. It's only been 5 years, and I keep thinking this. I just keep thinking about the fact that like we're supposed to believe that these girls are like that. Hannah especially is in like this high power position, like traveling the world. Like they're 23. They're like fresh out of college, like fresh out. Do you know how much doesn't happen in your life when you're 23? No offense, like.
They literally were like the writers of the show were like, okay, 5 years later. Can we just act like they're 28?
That's literally what they're doing. They're like, let's just go with it. Like, it's no one will say anything.
Especially because if I walked into the new It bar in town, the Radley, and saw these 23-year-old girls acting like they were 35 and like reminiscing on the good old days. I'm like, really, you guys didn't see each other one time
that
while
does
you guys
seem
were
insane.
in school?
That
you
seems
didn't come
crazy.
home for Christmas once?
Yeah, like
while Cece was locked up,
right? You like I just don't. You didn't come home for like any of your college breaks. Maybe I don't know. Maybe we're just
and especially like
I don't know.
Spencer, you and Toby. It seems like you guys dated a little bit into college and then things fell apart. So it's like,
well, I have questions there too. Radley being open and so bougie. Can you imagine? Okay, I want you to imagine. There's an insane asylum like in town. Okay.
Hey, we prefer the word sanatorium.
Okay, sanitarium. So we see the sanitarium. Okay, sanitarium. And then they're like, we're going to turn this into like a bougie cocktail bar, restaurant, hotel, resort. And we're not going to change the name and we're not really going to make the place look unrecognizable except inside. So like we're still going to have the creepy iron gates with RS on it so that everyone knows they're walking in to Radley's sanitarium.
Why does it kind of serve?
I mean, it does, but I'm like, Ashley, this is you? I don't see Ashley being the one doing this.
To me, I don't think it was. To me, I get the sense that it was someone else's idea and like brainchild, but she was the boots on the ground. She got it done.
Also, can you imagine like if that happened around here? The like protests that would ensue, people would be like, that is so, you have to knock the whole place down. Like that's so, because it is just like crazy. Also, it's not like it was, I mean, it's literally like if we went to Western Psych and turned it into like a boutique hotel, but like within like a couple years of it closing.
There is that. I do think that there's something architecturally interesting about Radley that Western Psych doesn't really have.
I mean, maybe. I get the gates?
I don't know. I think it's a cooler building.
I don't know. I'm like, it just seems distasteful, honestly.
Well, for sure. And the girls' conversation later is incredibly distasteful.
Yeah, true. So Hannah and Ashley are having lunch outside. And I mean, I'm half expecting to see Hannah be like, so like for the wedding, like this is going to be her wedding venue. Like that's how like posh and bougie it looks. And Hannah calls her mother the exorcist. And we find out her fiance's name is Jordan. She didn't bring him home. And Ashley's like, I just seem like it feels weird because it seems like when Allison calls you come running. And it's like, well, yes. Actually, Ashley, you hit the nail on the head with that one. Yes.
And also, okay, something I agree with that and what everybody's saying to the girls. And I think they need to be more aware of how it looks. But what I will also say is it's not, they did get summoned by the court.
Yeah.
Like that's why they're here.
Yes.
So then we go to the Montgomery Mausoleum and Aria got Byron a gift from Liam. Or Liam
Aria didn't get Byron a gift.
And then we find out, and this, when Ian Harding read the script, he was like,
yes, this is my moment. I'm putting that Carnegie Mellon acting degree to use. I have got a struggle.
He is, and Ezra is such a dick when he's jaded. Like when he is like in that, like there was, I think, with the stuff with Malcolm and Maggie, he became so rude all the time.
And girls, let me just remind you that when you inevitably date somebody like this in college, who is like the tortured artist, and I'm just like deep and different, and like I'm in a mood, okay, I've got writer's block, and they start being mean to you because of like stupid shit, that's not normal. Just so you know, you're dating a man child, get out of there, okay? All right.
So Byron kind of starts to fill Aria in. Ezra's back. Apparently he went to South America with Nicole to build more houses after they went to Thailand.
I cannot believe the story that's being told about what happened there.
And apparently a bunch of the people on the trip are either missing or dead.
Yeah, like
and Nicole's one of them.
15 are dead or missing. Nicole died. They think Nicole died. I guess she's missing. And Aria heard about it. Again, we don't really know what it is yet, but she wrote him a letter when it happened and never heard from him, like probably because he was in South America.
We also learned that he missed the thing because the only reason he's like, and so I think he has a little bit of survivor's guilt because they sent him home because he got sick before this all happened.
Right.
And I am like, Aria, you wrote him a letter. You have his phone number.
I know.
Given him a call, left a voicemail.
I can't imagine
you had to write a letter
across the sea, like literally, like. Does he even have an address?
Maybe he was already back here and she sent it there.
So then, because she thought he was still there, she's surprised he's back here, unless she's pretending. So Vivi we're at the Hastings, which could be happening. We're at the Hastings Castle and Vivi is running for state senate. Here's the most believable storyline this far. And Spencer's immediately shitty. And I mean, it is true that Vivi's like showing Spencer her commercial, like so proud of it. And I'm like, we couldn't have spent a little more, the graphic designer couldn't have spent a little more time making this look a little more polished. And Spencer turns to her mom and goes, the flag's a really nice touch. And it's just like, yeah, that is why you and Aria are besties. But I'm already annoyed with Spencer. Sorry.
Right.
Sorry, Spencer, but you're already on my shit list. So sorry. It's going to be a long rest of the season for you, I think.
So they're talking and we find out that Spencer, she doesn't like the term lobbyist, but we get a wrinkle here in the Mona and Spencer political dynamic that I'm shocked about. Spencer's in progressive politics.
Okay, so Mona's in conservative politics?
Well, that was the energy I got because Mona was like,
we have the same job, and Spencer was like, not really.
Spencer was like, I sell policy, and she goes, so do I, and she goes, different kind of policy, which makes me think that she's a lobbyist for a different kind of.
That, but I don't see that for Mona. But maybe I do.
But I don't want to. I think I see the inverse. I think I see that for. I see that for Spencer being in conservative politics
makes more sense. But I'm also like, if we think about who Mona has been her whole life and the way that she's spoken about people, maybe I'm wrong. You know, maybe she's not as progressive as we thought. Because it's not like she's been super kind about, you know, anyone who's like a little bit different. But that also comes from a place of her being the different person, and like it's also hard to know what's real with Mona and what's not.
I can also totally see Mona, like, it might not even, she might be able to remove the politics from it entirely.
Yeah, I can see
like,
that. It's
I'm so smart.
Yeah.
That, like, I'm gonna go to the highest paying job and like fucking kill it.
Right.
And whereas Spencer,
where can I get the most power? And let's really think of, politics, it is all this chess game that's like, it is crazy, and it makes it makes total sense that Mona would go be doing it.
So then we go to the brew. Aria just can't stay away.
I do have to say,
it's like Nosferatu. It's like the magnet.
No, literally, and also my conversation with Lily in the group chat last night. Sorry, I was in the group chat. That's just where it was. But I almost referenced the person she and I were talking about as Nosferatu because I was like, same vibe. Like literally same vibe as like what was happening there. I do love Aria's jacket in this episode. I think
I don't think I noticed.
It's like a blue, like, I don't know. I'll post a pic. It's cute.
So we see someone kind of, because Byron had mentioned that Ezra moved into the apartment above the brew.
Yes.
And so Aria goes by and I'm like, were you gonna knock on his door? That's a little presumptuous.
She was just gonna sit around and wait and talk on the phone with Liam so that Ezra would hear the unmistakable sound of Aria talking to another man to make him jealous in the brew, and Ezra would come right down.
Right. But he does come down, and he has scruff, of course.
Of course.
And he looks a little disheveled. He's got to look disheveled.
Or a lot disheveled.
And he sees Aria, and it's like that classic moment.
Time stops. The world stops. It's as if they're the only two people in that coffee shop, you guys. And then it's interrupted by, order up. Just kidding. Yeah.
So they
order for Phoebe, and then the moment is broken.
And then someone says, who the fuck has that name?
Okay, prank name. Okay, I have a coffee for someone who used a prank name. It starts with a P. No real name start with a P. Anyway, so she's working for his publishers, I guess.
Mm-hmm, so he says, your bosses are really mad at me.
They gave him an advance for his book, but he hasn't written it. And then she's like, they'll understand. And then they say that basically Nicole was dragged off by revolutionaries and no one can find her. I was like, not me thinking this was like a plane crash or something. Like,
which seems like that could have been the storyline.
This seems like a storyline that's going to require more follow-up. And I don't know if like the writer's room is actually prepared for that. You know what I mean? Follow-up's like not really our strong suit here in the Pretty Little Liars writer's room.
And Ezra is like, oh, you understand? Oh, they understand. Well, can someone explain it to me then? Because I don't understand how you go somewhere to help people and then it costs you your life.
And then Aria's like, well, I gotta go. Okay. I gotta head out. Like she just doesn't say anything. All right, so then we have Spencer and Toby, the meeting of Spoby. Spencer comes in, and it's clear that there's no bad blood here. He is happy as a clam to see her.
Toby is building a house.
Okay, it's giving
himself.
Noah an alley. Where's your alley, Toby?
But he mentions that Caleb had said that the girls were gonna come home.
And Spencer's like, oh, you're talking to Caleb? About what? Oh, anything interesting?
And he's like, well, we talk every so often. We went fishing last summer. And she's like, oh.
You did? Oh, I didn't really hear about that. Not that I would have. I don't know how I would have heard about that.
And he's like, yeah, we're in the brotherhood of ex-boyfriends. We have to stick together.
Okay, there were two like ideas. I was like, if only it made sense for us to have a shirt that said brotherhood of ex-boyfriends, because it's kind of an iconic like thing. But there was something later that I was like, this would be a fun merch idea. I wrote it. We'll get there. But there's some good little lines like that. So Spencer explains why she's here. She's like, we're actually all here. And he makes the comment about when Allison flashes the bat signal, everyone shows up. And she's like, well, we're kind of the I saved your life, now you save mine kind of friends. And the thing is, like, did Allie ever save your lives? Really?
Hormone harmony. Road warriors, let's get real. Managing PMS can be difficult. When I get on to record the podcast with Caroline, it can be tough sometimes to lock into a cheerful mood. But good news. With the help of Hormone Harmony, I am able to manage my PMS and so much more. It helps me balance my moods and even improves my sleep quality. Hormone Harmony is dedicated to making women's lives better. One of the ways they achieve this is through science-backed herbal extracts called adaptogens. These help your body adapt to stressors. Hormone Harmony is third-party tested, non-GMO, and gluten and dairy-free. It's no wonder to me a new bottle of Hormone Harmony is sold every 24 seconds. If you can even believe it, for a limited time, you can get 15% off your entire first order at happymammoth.com. Just use the code PrettyLittlePodcast at checkout. That's happymammoth.com and use the code PrettyLittlePodcast for 15% off today.
She actually put your lives in a lot of danger.
It seems like you guys like continued and repeated to save her life. And now you're still doing that. That's what it seems like. To me, just to me. And then she's like, or she asks him who he's building the house for. And he asks her why it has to be for somebody. And she says, because I know you. And it seems like she's like annoyed. And then we find out later, she certainly is. Okay, you ungrateful wench.
He wasn't going to build you a house when he was 16.
Yeah, he was 16 years old. A lumber's expensive, Spence.
And he's going to buy her dinner one of these days while she's in town.
Okay.
And he is like being really sweet.
I know he's being honestly like, it's like he's genuinely happy to see her, which makes me even more annoyed with her because this seems like a stop she had to make to like not hear about it later. Low key. You know what I mean? It feels like she's like, I have, like, I know, she said to Caleb, like, I have to go stop by and, well, also, I'm like, if I'm Spencer and I know that I'm dating Caleb and I know that like it's going to feel like a betrayal to Toby and to Hannah and these people, then I am like, I need to go say hi to Toby so that when he finds this out, like, he's already seen me.
Like, later on, when we see Spencer and Caleb leave the hotel together, it was giving the sense of like they were both supposed to be going around and telling everybody about it. Like that was the sense I got, and I don't think either of them did.
No,
and they both were like
that was what they were supposed to be doing, and yes, I think you're right. That's totally true. Oh God,
which it's like, okay, if you can't follow through, maybe you're doing something wrong.
I know. Oh my God, and I loved how Hannah. Oh, we'll get there. So Allie is filling in the girls. She's like, look, we're all in Allie's classroom, and she's holding class. And she says she stayed with me for Christmas last year. Like, she's getting the treatment that she's always needed and she didn't get.
The girls go, she was out?
Yeah.
And I am like, these girls didn't get a message?
I know.
That she's going to be let out for
They actually should get like
crazy.
Alerts. Yeah, like they should at least
Absolutely
within a certain number of years. So Allie's like, look, all I need from you guys are statements that she's just not a threat to anybody and you're not afraid of her. And they're like, okay, that is something I cannot do.
That's the whole thing.
That's like actually the whole thing. And they're like, there's no reason to be afraid of her. She's not going to hurt anybody. And it's like, do you really believe that, Allie? And do you really think that why do you think it's going to be so easy to convince us of this? That is what's blowing my mind a little bit.
And Allie is like, Cece's getting all the help that she never got as a kid.
Right.
So it's different. And I'm like, okay, but she needed that help for like 18 years.
Yes.
Not condensed into 5 now after she did this really terrible thing.
It's sort of like when Shep was like, I went and did ayahuasca and it's like 4 years of therapy in just 4 days. I'm like, no, it isn't. No, it's actually not. What I think though also is like, this is a really good example of what we've sort of talked about with Jenna some, and also like with Paige, and just when we get these characters that do things that are unforgivable or horrible, or they are, bad characters, but, Jenna is blind, but Paige is really struggling with the fact that her family is homophobic and she's dealing with this internalized homophobia. They have these things, these stories to them where it feels like almost wrong to be holding them accountable for being shitty people. And it's like, those things cannot absolve them and make it so that we don't have to hold them accountable. And same as Cece, it is terrible that she didn't get the help she needed and that she was punished as a child for, being born into the wrong body, right? Like, that isn't fair. But there are so many trans people who do not do that. And what she did also, it goes so far beyond even like retaliation. It's like premeditated, first degree, like torture, murder, like plotting, scheme. Like, this isn't. There's so many crimes here. And I feel like Allie's sort of like, well, I owe it to her. She hasn't gotten to live her life the way she wanted to. Like, she needed this therapy.
I'm actually like, I'm a little bit like, yeah, she did. She did. Yeah. For a long period of time. She
yes. She dated both of your brother, in case you forgot that.
She went to UPenn.
Right.
She got to fly to Paris and do her thing. Right. She got to go to Cape May. Like, she got to do a bunch of stuff. I know she was going back to Radley, and then when she was out of Radley, she then got to do what she ultimately wanted to do, which was keep your friends in a dollhouse.
Right.
So like,
yeah, and it's like the other thing
she had her chance.
I think that as much as I'm like in my mind, one thing I thought about actually over the past week is like, we know what Cece's told us, and so Cece tells us a story about like accidentally, trying to help Allie, dropping her in the bath by accident. And it was all this misunderstanding. But the truth is, we know that because that's what Cece is telling us. We don't actually know. Maybe she did fucking try to kill Allison. Like, and she's just telling you that now. Look, it was so wrong. And Dad wanted me put away in Radley for these other reasons. It's like, well, were you also a fucking psycho? Because if yes, then, so I just think it's an interesting, like, I feel like that's where Allie's coming from. And it just adds this like interesting ripple that makes it a little bit more complicated.
Especially when she was not directly affected by a lot of Cece's actions and the way that these girls were and the way that Mona was. We find out that Mona is also coming to testify and Allie's not trying to get her to sway her opinion because she doesn't think she'll be able to. We find out that Sarah's not allowed to testify because of how something went in her sentencing for her part of everything.
Oh wait, and also sorry, with Mona demanded to be heard. So I don't even think she was summoned. she demanded to be heard, and Allie is aware, like says she's going to talk to the judge about the dollhouse and being tortured. So
it's
like
well, yeah,
that is already set in stone. So it also like increases the pressure on the girls. Like, look, Mona's gonna be trying to bury her, so you guys need to like undo whatever she's gonna say.
They ask if Jason's coming, and she's like, Jason doesn't agree with me and the doctor's assessment of Cece, so he's not coming. And then Allie says, you don't need to forgive her.
Yeah,
Just
I don't
do
care
this
if
for
you
me.
forgive her. She just wants a chance at a real family. And it's like, well, Allie, the truth is your mom is dead. Your brother wants nothing to do with her. Your dad is a piece of shit. So is the real family just you?
Mm-hmm.
It's not, you can't give her what she didn't get as a child, Allie. And you don't need to try because it's just going to fuck you up too. Like, it's just how it is. And they're like, so just to be clear, we're here to say how we feel and you are asking us to lie. And Allie sort of begs, and we don't really know, like we leave it and we're not sure what the girls have decided.
So we go to Rosewood Times Square where Vivi's having a rally in front of the police department, and it's giving a not like other girls speech. She's like, look, I am not like other politicians.
She's like, look, I get it.
I'm a cool politician.
yeah, exactly. She's like, you guys don't know about AOC yet, but I'm kind of gonna try to go there. Yeah, I'm trying to do that. And Hannah is standing there, and they're all standing there like looking like they wish they could be anywhere else. And Hannah says, if being honest and truthful is so damn purifying, why do I feel like the bottom of somebody's shoe? It's like, because you're not being honest and truthful, because you're planning on lying tomorrow.
Exactly. And then they are like, we didn't kill the dragon. I guess we just tamed it. And they kind of were getting to live in a world where they felt like they killed the dragon.
But
like they didn't have
Spencer
to deal with it at all.
Yeah. And Spencer's like, I think we should just say we're not afraid. Like, so Spencer's kind of decided that's the route she wants to take. And then she goes, because she's about to get called up to speak. And we hear the unmistakable voice of Miss Janelle Parrish, Mona Vanderwall, behind her saying, your mom's doing well in the polls for such an untested candidate. Mona, I love you. I missed you these 5 years. I have missed you, girl.
Imagine working in politics. Imagine the arrogance of someone to work in politics with the past that she has.
I mean, imagine one day Spencer and Mona cabinet battling it out on the floor,
and then we have someone running a smear campaign on them, and they're like, wait, they actually have really problematic paths, both of them, and then they're like, yeah, and then we actually don't have anything to come defend them. That's just like is what it is true. It is true. Yep. And this is them now.
Correct. And now we are
choice.
doing this. Yep. So Mona looks fierce. She's got looks like she's got a Brazilian blowout. Hair is shiny. And Mona asks Spencer if she still has nightmares. And Spencer's like, I never had nightmares. I don't sleep, remember? She doesn't say that, but she might as well. And Mona confesses she has 3 shrinks and she's on prescriptions, but she still has bad dreams. And then we get the announcement that Spencer is one of the reasons Vivi's running.
This is why I said this is emotional warfare, because Mona times it perfectly to get Spencer thinking about the trauma that she went through right before she has to speak.
Yes, so funny. But luckily, Spencer Hastings has a little light switch in her head, which she can just go and compartmentalize and just
severed.
She can just sever for that if she wants to. So of course, I love that. Of course,
house.
Emily and Toby having a beer on the porch.
Yes. Vibes.
It's so vibing so hard. And I'm like, Emily, you still like are uncomfortable being inside your mom's house. You're like, you still will not bring company inside. You're like, your mom's gonna make you take your shoes off. It's gonna be a whole thing. Like,
it's gonna be a whole thing.
You're gonna have to touch the gold star when you walk in. So it's better. We just gonna wait out here.
We find out that Spencer and Toby kind of went out of sync, and he was like, I'm not like obsessed with Rosewood, but I like it here. But she would just like, everywhere we went, she would be reminded of something that she wanted to forget.
Yeah.
So it just stopped working.
It seems like out of everybody, Toby and Emily are kind of like not having the best time. Like they are both a little bit struggling. Work. Just got a text that one of my students got the role they wanted. Hell yeah. Anyway. So like Toby's bummed. He got passed over for a promotion. And then Emily starts talking about how college wasn't great for her because when her dad died,
and you know who
she couldn't see a point to anything.
Promotion?
Who?
We find out later.
Lorenzo.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, and I like ever since I've gotten a few little breadcrumbs in my inbox about how the guy that played Lorenzo was a piece of shit off screen, which I don't know any details about still, but I just know now I'm like, fuck this guy. Every time I see him, I'm so annoyed with him. And yeah.
And now we find out that he got Toby's promotion.
And so now it's like, okay, now I have even more of a reason to hate the fictional man as well. But yeah, so we then go to the tiniest courtroom you've ever seen in your life. And Allie is speaking first, and she tells the judge that her sister Charlotte is the missing part of her family, and she's always been missing. And I'm like, again, the missing part of your family could be your dead mother, could be I still don't know where your dad is. How about all these girls whose moms are still locked in your basement? Just kidding.
So Spencer says that she doesn't feel threatened by Cece. People are not always the things that they do. Hannah says the same thing. She says that she's free now. Emily says, fear is natural. My dad says it's a good reflex, but I'm not afraid anymore.
She goes, he said you can decide what you're going to be afraid of. And I've decided.
And then
I'm not afraid of Charlotte Taylor. Phoebe's like, Caroline, shut the hell up giving us details about what these people said. Not Aria having a written prepared statement. She and Mona being the only ones. And I'm like, okay, but again, Aria with the Phoebe edit, because guess what? Aria's is handwritten. Mona's busy. Mona's like, I don't have time to handwrite this.
Caroline has no reason to think that that's a Phoebe edit.
Well,
because,
you
like,
handwrite all your notes for the show.
Yeah, but like the speech I read at your wedding was typed.
I mean, you're saying that now, but like no one was at our wedding that's listening, so they don't even know that for sure. So like I could totally call your bluff if I wanted to. I could tell everyone it's written on your hand if I want to. Actually, guys, it was actually improv. Yeah, she prepared nothing. I've been hiding her secret that Phoebe's actually the best improvisational speaker in the family. I've been protecting our father, okay, by not admitting that on the air. But now I've said it. Okay?
And now we've said it.
Phoebe can quote Little Women without looking at the words written down. Yes. Yes. Phoebe can make parallels between Little Women and our lives very easily. Yes. Oh my
guys,
God.
My speech was so good.
It was great. You had a great speech.
Thank you. So Aria what kills me is that they're making it seem like Aria is the only one who had like flashbacks while she was talking.
Yes.
Because absolutely every girl was thinking about what they went through.
Yes, but also
while this was happening.
She is, I think, the only one who is asked a follow-up question that we see. You know, like she starts her statement and it's almost like she had to write it out, because if she didn't write it, who knows, her brain might just and do the right thing.
The judge for some reason is like interrupting her statement.
Yes. Well, the judge is like, okay, I can tell this is bullshit.
she's like, I read the same reports. I'm good.
And
I know what happened.
Also, as soon as Aria starts speaking, Ezra walks in the room. It's as if he had his ear to the door and times it. Yeah, why is that?
And they dressed him so that I think he's in like a jacket that's like a size too small. His button-down shirt is like half untucked.
He looks so disheveled. He has the energy walking in the room as someone who's on crutches. and got here late because the elevator, they had to wait for the elevator.
That's the funniest way to just
is that not exactly
so
it?
Funny
though he walks in like someone that had to wait for the elevator because he's on crutches, and he just made it in, and he's like just trying not to distract anyone, and no one gives it a second thought because he's on crutches. So everyone's like, oh yeah, just like whatever you need to do.
So Aria then tells this story about how she was on the train to Braintree. She lives in Boston, we learn. And she is like, we stopped, the train stopped in between stations, and it was like pitch.
The power went out. And suddenly,
she was like, and I heard this weak ass bitch in the corner sobbing, crying.
She goes,
and then the lights came on.
She goes, when the lights were off, I was back in every box and every dark, tight space that A ever put me in, and I couldn't breathe. And then I heard a girl crying, and I thought, good. And I thought, good, somebody else is scared out of her mind. Which is like so funny at first, because I'm like, classic Aria being like, good, I fucking hope you're scared. You should all know what fear feels like. I lived my whole life in fear. It's not fair that you don't know what it feels like. And then the lights come on, and it turns out Aria was the girl crying. And I'm like, if that ain't Aria having an out-of-body experience, hearing her own tears and being like, oh, I want to hug that girl, and it's herself. Like, classic.
Oh my God.
So Aria says, I don't want Cece released ever. So
and Mona also has a written statement, but crumbles it and says, I can't do this.
Hannah says, here comes the last nail in the coffin right before Mona goes.
And also, when Mona starts speaking, Aria and Ezra aren't in there anymore.
Oh, wow. I didn't even notice that. Aria's like, we actually have to leave class early too because we have to wait for the elevator to get downstairs. So there's not enough time between periods and the halls get really congested. So we actually have to leave 2 minutes before the end of class.
And there always was that like Crutch's buddy, the person who like would go in the elevator with the person.
Yes.
So Mona ends up saying if they manage to forgive Cece, so can I.
She says, I can't hate her because I understand what she went through because I was also in Radley. And being in Radley is what twisted Cece all out of shape. Let her out, let her go home. And then she leaves crying. And I'm like, Mona, maybe you don't have what it takes to have your job in DC.
It is a little bit like, Mona, I guess you do get it because you introduced the game to Cece. So we actually have you to thank in a lot of ways.
True. But also after what happens, and I guess this is what we're supposed to believe, but at the end of the episode, I'm like, the one thing that I'm thinking is like, Mona, I just don't believe that you can't fucking pull it together and read that statement. And so did you want her out so you could kill her tonight? Like, I'm certain we're going to get the Mona suspicion edit. And I doubt Mona did it for some reason, but I feel like
Caroline is such a Mona apologist.
I just think that I don't think Mona actually did it. I don't think they are going to make her do it right now.
We'll see. We go to Radley, and Emily and Spencer are talking before the rest of the girls come, and Emily is like thinking about the one that got away, I guess.
Yeah.
She's like, I just kind of thought she'd come.
I was really worried.
They keep alluding,
excited.
They keep alluding to this thing that they did to her, and they're like, she's gonna be like, look what these girls did to me.
What did they do?
Hands.
Are we gonna find out, or am I supposed to already know?
I don't know, but I'll tell you. I think that the bomb partially went off.
Oh.
And like her hands are burned.
Oh. Well, her hands didn't look burned to me.
She had gloves on when we saw her.
Oh, you're right. That's why they didn't look burned. That's why they didn't look burned to a crisp, because they were in gloves.
Caroline, you're so smart.
Okay, Shower's hand looks like Dumbledore's hand in Harry Potter when it gets all crumpled up because he has to wear the ring.
Yeah, I think that's what we're alluding to. But I'm like, Emily, she put herself in that position. Like she was setting up the bomb. It's
Emily's
not your fault.
Emily's like, and you all know what I did, right? I socked her in the jaw. Yeah, because she used me to get lips. I love saying that right now.
she used me
to get lips, okay, and to teach her how to for kissing practice, just like Allie. And so I socked her in the freaking jaw and left her there to be in the blown up building. No, but I'm like, Shower deserved it. Anyway, Allie sends a message to the girls,
that says the judge has decided to release Cece and
thanks for your help. Wouldn't it have been so funny if Aria wasn't included in the text? If she's there, but only Hannah, Emily, and Spencer got it.
So funny. Aria comes in and Spencer goes, there is the only honest woman in this town.
No, Hannah doesn't.
Small but mighty.
Hannah says,
oh,
hello to the only honest woman in town. And that's when Spencer does her, you're mighty, which is like your classic line, Spence. And they decide they're all going to turn their phones off. Hannah learned that the phone actually has an off button. And all these years we could have just turned our phone off and we never would have had to go through any of this.
And of course, Spencer's like, I actually can't turn my phone all the way off.
I have two phones, and one of them is always on, and if it goes off, I get shot in the head, execution style, because I work in Washington. This is what it is. This is the other shirt. The Coven of the Sacred Cocktails.
Sacred Cocktails. That could be a shirt.
Yeah.
Because we have the Speculators Cocktail
That's what
Club.
I was thinking. I was like, maybe the Coven of the Sacred Cocktails is...
And let's just run through these girls' drinks real quick.
All right.
Because on the plane...
Wait, remember when we did their coffee orders? That in like the very beginning, we should one day do for like the punch bowl thing. I'll make a note.
Yes. Hannah on the plane is drinking what I believe to be Dorit Kemsley's drink. It's
Belvedere.
I think it's a Belvedere.
No, she has a lemon twist in her drink, and Dorit does not like that. Dorit
carcass
wants
out.
the carcass out. Yeah, lots of lemon, carcass out.
She goes, She goes, 3 lemons squeezed in. She does this with her hands every time. Squeezed in really well. Carcass out.
I do love it. Yeah, but Hannah does have a twist in her drink, so it can't be exactly.
It can't be that. So at Radley, though, Hannah's drinking a dirty martini with olives.
Love it.
Emily is drinking an old fashioned, which it's like, you guys
either a beer. She's either doing a beer on the porch with her best guy friend, or she's having an old fashioned, and there's no in between.
And Spencer's having a Cosmo.
Oh, I thought she was having wine.
Pebble Ice. No, that's when they're sitting at the table.
Oh,
but now
right.
they're sitting in the little lounge.
Right. Okay.
And also, I love how like the white wine on this show looks real. But
yes.
Anytime they're drinking red wine, it just looks like translucent.
It looks like cranberry juice. Yeah.
She's drinking a Cosmo with a bunch of Pebble Ice in it, and then Aria's having a Cosmo with no ice.
Interesting, actually. Maybe Spencer needs to watch. Well, because Spencer does seem drunk, and they keep kind of acknowledging that Spencer might be drunker than the girls because she keeps telling them how much she loves them. And they're like, guys, did you know Spencer loves us? So maybe they put ice in Spencer's to water it down so that she doesn't get quite so drunk.
Maybe Spencer's like, sorry, in Washington, I'm always on the clock.
Yeah,
so I can't.
I don't get to
like
let loose like this, you know? Anyway, so Spencer, yeah, she keeps being like, I missed your faces. You're so beautiful, blah, blah, blah.
And we get a little like,
wait, this is so funny.
A quick little thing.
What?
Well, I was just gonna say we get a quick little thing of Allie at her house prepping for Cece to come in, and they literally want it. They are trying to make Allie like a trad wife, like I Love Lucy style character, because she's like got this entire platter of the grossest cookies you've ever, like cookies that your grandma would have out, you know what I mean? It's not like she like got like a bunch of chocolate chip cookies,
right? And there's like a cheese board,
and then she hears the honk. And they have Allie do this little like, this little jog.
How's my hair? Like, yeah, it's like literally like she's a Stepford wife, like running to get the door. I don't want to keep my company waiting. Hannah cracks me up. She goes, I just feel like they should have special drinks here. Like, we're sitting in a bar in what used to be a squirrel factory, but no electroshock margarita.
and then, like, the one line was funny. And then it's like, okay, the writer's room needed to fill time, and it gets problematic kind of quickly.
Yes, and it's also like Aria takes it a little bit problematic, manic, depressive Mai Tai. And Spencer's like, that is so not politically correct, girls. That's why I love you, because on Capitol Hill, we have got to stay PC. And then Spencer's drunk, and then Hannah goes, okay, can we get another bipolar martini? And I'm like, okay, and game's over.
And it's a little much also because Spencer was a patient here.
Yes. Okay, and now we know why there are no special drinks here at the Radley. Okay, great, thank you.
So they're talking, and then they decide to do a toast, and then we get like this shot so that we know that they're on camera.
Yes. And Hannah also gets the check and invites them all over to her suite to keep hanging out. So we know that Hannah is staying here. And Spencer admits that she would have never said all that to the judge if she thought it was going to work, because she says, I really thought it wouldn't matter what we said. They were never going to let her out. And I just thought if we lied for Allie one more time, it would be fine. But if Charlotte can live happily ever after, so can we. And that's when they raise the toast to Cece. And then we all end up in Hannah's suite. It's the morning after. Hannah comes in with some ice, tries not to wake them up, but she does. We can tell they're like hungover.
She goes, why can't they just invent quiet ice?
And Spencer's like, it's called Pebble Ice. And I had it in my Cosmo last night. So she tells Hannah that she saw Toby and he's building a house and all this stuff. And she goes, yeah, all I got was a chair, and some lucky girl will get a whole house. And it's like, well, Spencer, do you want the house? Spencer, do you even want the house?
Yeah. And it's like, Spencer, something tells me you broke up with him.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you could have had the house.
And one of us is very much moved on, it seems.
And
that's when first though Emily knocks her bag over when she wakes up because the phone rings and all her shit flies out, and when they're like pills and like all this stuff that she's like so scared that the girls are gonna see, but I couldn't even like tell what half of it was, so I don't know what's going on. But back to that like drug thing with Emily where it seems like she's on drugs. And Allie calls Hannah panicking. Cece is gone. The Dr. Rollins wants her to call the police, but she doesn't want to, and she wants them all to come over. And there was like, no.
And Hannah goes, yeah, you should call the police.
Yeah, that's
call the police before we come over.
You should have called the police before you called me, actually. And she wants to know if
And then we
Cece
get
showed up
this
at their hotel room. And they're all like, how would we know? If she showed up here, the only way we're going to know is if we find a microchip inside our body in a few weeks. Like, how would we know?
And also, sorry, I know that maybe you were looking at this through rose-colored glasses, Allie, but like if that is your first thought after she goes missing, not maybe she went to go get coffee. Maybe she shouldn't have been left out.
Yes, exactly.
Let out. I mean.
Left out. She shouldn't have been left out.
And so we go to Rosewood Times Square and we see a bunch of like flower petals, and we get this camera shot that ends up showing us someone's dead hand and
with
then
a rose
goes
in
over
it.
someone's body.
Yeah, so we see the coroner, and then Lorenzo shows up. And the story they're telling right now is that Charlotte De Laurentiis killed herself and jumped from the top of the bell tower. And what's interesting to me, though, is because it shows us like this trail of rose petals leading up to her with the rose in her hand. And it's interesting to me that like, so who dropped the trail of rose petals if she jumped?
I feel like maybe it's like on her way down, some of them fell off
that's
the
a good
flowers
point.
that she was holding.
There you go.
And also just, stage design.
True. There you have it. Stage design. So like then we go to Allie's house, and she's in bed, inconsolable,
still sleeping in her childhood bedroom. This is her house, and she's
before. Didn't let the end in. By the way, I cannot stop listening to the Torture Poets Department. I don't know why. I'm like on a kick right now.
It's so good, but it better not win tonight. Like I'm actually gonna be like,
I know. I'm worried.
Embarrassed. And also everybody's comments about her presenting, and they're like they're showing that video of Nicki Minaj when she was like,
no, Miley,
like,
what's good? That one?
No, the video where she's like, and the winner, she's presenting with 3 people, and the guy goes, and the winner is, and he goes to open up the envelope, and she goes, Pink Friday, Roman's Revenge out this Friday. Like, like she like does promo, and they're like, that's gonna be Taylor. Taylor's gonna be like, she's gonna announce Reputation and Taylor Swift.
It better not be, because the other thing is, Taylor, you don't have to. You don't need the Grammy platform to do it.
You're gonna be fine.
Yes.
You're gonna
don't
be
do
fine.
it. Please, God, don't do it. And she has to know.
What if
Travis goes with her tonight?
I don't think he can. I think it would be a bad look, especially if the Chiefs lose and he went to the Grammys.
You're right. But it's in a week. Okay. Whatever.
I know, but he didn't go last year for the same reason. It was a week apart last year too.
Okay, fine, whatever. But was she nominated for Best Album last year? Album of the Year?
Yeah, she won last year.
Oh, you're right. Oh, yeah. Duh, that's why she made the announcement. Okay, sorry. Anyway, all right, back to this. So then Caleb knocks on... by the way, sorry. Dr. Rollins thought there was no chance of what happened with Cece. He asks Emily to stay and comfort Allie. Emily like holds Allie's hand, blah, blah. Let's get to Caleb and Hannah.
Going back a second, I didn't write this down in my notes, and I don't think you did either, but there was a part of Spencer and Hannah's initial morning conversation where Caleb does come up, and Hannah, yes. I love the way Ashley Benson is acting this. Like,
too.
She like clocks it.
Yes, and you can see it on her face, but it's subtle.
Mm-hmm. She did a really good job.
Really good.
So Caleb knocks on the door, and she's like, "Oh, I thought you were room service," and he goes, "Nope, just me."
They have a moment of them both being like they're both like speechless for a second. And then he's like, well, Spencer called me. And like immediately you can tell in Hannah's face, she's not cool with that. She is not cool with Spencer calling you. And she remembers what Spencer said this morning and whatever. And so then he's like, yeah, I'm thinking of actually like working for her. I was with her when she got the letter. All these little things, like it's like he's trying to tell her in so many words, but Hannah is not going to make it easy for him. Hannah's not going to be like, oh, why are you talking to Spencer? Like she's not going to ask any of those leading questions because she wants to see if he's going to fucking tell her. Like she's literally like, no, you tell me, which I love.
And he can't do it. He's such a coward in this. They both are so cowardly in this whole storyline.
Hannah?
And Caleb and Spencer.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant Hannah and Caleb. I was like, take her name out of your mouth. How fucking dare you?
Caleb can't do it because Hannah's like, so why did you come back?
Yeah, why are you here?
Says, I guess it was just like a reflex to come back after hearing about Cece and all this. See, because Spencer called telling him that Cece was missing.
Yes.
And
his reflex was to try and help.
Hannah says if we'd been quiet, she'd be alive and we wouldn't have another funeral to get through.
Yeah, because he's like, are you okay? And she's like, we all came here to help Allie, and Charlotte killed herself. So, no.
This is... Hannah says, well, I'm sure my mom could get you a room here if you need a place to stay. And he says, I'm actually staying in Spencer's barn.
In Hannah's face, Hannah just kind of like looks to the side for a second. She's like, and
like,
just
sorry,
like,
Spencer, that is, I actually can't believe it. I can't believe it.
Yeah, no, it's insane to me. And so it's awkward, and she doesn't ask him about it, which I love. And then she's like, so, okay, why didn't you call first? And he says that he wasn't sure Hannah would let him in. And she's like, what? Aren't we still friends? Like, I don't know. Why would I not let you in? And it's like, again, Caleb, like, he's like trying to see if she knows, and like she's not biting and he's not whatever. And so then there's a knock on the door, and it is the room service. And he leaves, and as he leaves, she like touches her engagement ring.
He looks really good in this scene, I think. I like that sweater on him, and his hair looks good. And
I hate Spencer's outfit. It's
gonna be
so
hard.
You know.
It's gonna be hard for Caroline to like just about anything about Spencer the next couple episodes.
I guess so. Did you see the message? Someone sent us a message and was like, Caroline, I actually think you're gonna like Caleb and Spencer.
Well, you haven't seen them interact yet. You might.
I've seen them interact plenty.
Too much for my liking. But I do think it's interesting. Caleb didn't say anything about the ring. I expected that like classic rom-com moment of like, oh,
well, I'm also like, I feel like
lucky guy.
Hannah didn't like, I was like, Hannah, touch your hair or something, like so that he can see it, like flash it. And I'm like, low key, maybe he didn't even like look. But like, wouldn't Spencer have told him? I feel like Spencer would be like, Hannah's engaged. Like, she's not even gonna care. Go tell her. Like, is that the conversation they're having? Like, I don't know.
Spencer.
I know. What if Hannah was dating Toby, Spencer? I have a feeling it wouldn't be like cool.
That wouldn't be okay. What if Toby was building Hannah a house?
Yeah, let's talk about that. What if Hannah's like, oh, the house is for me, I'm moving back. Like, what would you think? So then Caleb walks back down into the lobby of the Radley and runs into Spencer, but not really like a run-in. It's more like they were there together. And Spencer asks how it was, and she says she stayed down here so it wasn't weird. So like she was going to go up with Caleb. Could you fucking imagine if they both showed up in Hannah's room?
And that's also how we know that he was supposed to be up there telling Hannah.
Yes. And she calls the whole Radley thing. I love it. She goes, he's like, you can't even tell this place was Radley. And she's like, I call it cultural amnesia. People get do-overs. Why shouldn't buildings? And they leave. And did you notice the two of them are like so in step? Like they're so synced up as they're leaving. I
did not know that.
She takes a couple steps back right as he takes a couple steps. It's like they're in like a tango. Like they move perfectly together. And I feel like it's supposed to show that they're comfortable in this relationship. This is not a new thing. And that is something that I am uncomfortable with. Thanks for asking. Kind of shocked Cece can have an open casket funeral, not gonna lie. If she fell from the fucking bell tower, I'm certain she's smashed up.
I know, especially so soon. Smashed up is crazy.
I'm certain she is smashed up, and she's in there with that open casket, and we're all here in the funeral, and everyone turns around, and there's Shower Harvey walking in her Black Widow outfit. By the way, same haircut in 5 years is crazy.
I know, girl. You don't like it that much.
She looks at the girls. I wanted Emily to be like, Emily start like making fists at Shower across the like thing, and Shower's like, like it still hurts, the memory, phantom pain.
Allie like doesn't notice at all, but Sarah then has this moment where we have to like, they give her all these things that like should be layups for acting. Yeah. And she's like looking straight ahead, and then she like turns her head to the side so harshly to look at the girls. It's like
she's an alien being told how to turn her head, and she's doing it as naturally as she possibly can, but it's just not good enough.
So then we go outside, and I thought this was a really missed opportunity to recreate the end of the pilot.
I totally agree with you. I felt like they were trying to nod at it, but they didn't, and we could have gotten that pan out. Like, yes, and the whole like it would have been great, and have them stand in the same place and whatever, but we don't. Allie gets straight into a car, like doesn't say anything to the girls. Caleb walks down, whispers in Spencer's ear that he's going to get the car. Oh, did you come together?
In the car?
Seems like that's in bad taste. I hope you drove everybody.
You guys have a car together?
I hope you drove everybody. I hope you have a Sprinter van that you're going to pull around, Caleb, for the whole gang. That's what I hope.
It's just, that's another nod to their comfortability with each other, because it's like, that's so like
they have like couple, a routine, like hey, I'm gonna go get the car. Yeah,
I'm gonna pull around.
Yes, exactly. Like it's they're comfortable with each other. And
then we see Mona like shuffle out of the building in a hurry, like she's guilty of something.
Oh, but that's, again, I'm like, Mona's not going to be doing that if she's guilty. Like, Mona's not, Mona knows how to try to not look guilty. So that's why I don't believe she did it. And then this, I wonder if you caught it. Did you catch the Wizard of Oz reference in this moment? We get...
I can't say I did.
Well, that's crazy. As Shower gets escorted to her car, Emily goes, well, they're like, why would she have been here? And Emily says she's making sure Charlotte's really dead. And Spencer says, really most sincerely dead. From the lollipop, the mayor of Munchkin is really most sincerely dead. When they're talking about the Wicked Witch of the East being dead. Yes.
Wow.
It's right after the house began to pitch. And it's right after that.
I love the TikToks that are like Glinda thinking about the entire B plot of what's happening while she's listening to this little bitch sing.
The house began to twitch and then began to thitch, and suddenly the window started to unhitch. Just then, a witch to satisfy an itch went thumbing on her broomstick, thumbing for a hitch. So good.
Glinda's like, girl, I know, and I gotta
Glinda's like, all right, so are we wrapping can somebody else take this, please? I've got to get in my bubble and get out of here. Anyway, so Hannah then is like, let's go, but they get stopped by Lo. Lorenzo.
You love calling him Lo.
I do.
And he asks about their plans for the next few days, to which this is how I feel when I'm home. I feel like I'm about to be, when people are like, so how long are you in town? I'm like, none of your business.
You're like, what's the right answer?
Business, actually.
Yeah, I'm not telling you.
How long is too long? If I walk into Mullets again and you guys are like, you're still here? Like,
it's like, okay, ouch.
I'm going to be like,
okay, it stings a little.
Okay.
So they have the autopsy report at the police department, and basically they found out that Charlotte was dead when she was thrown from the bell tower. So the death has now been ruled a homicide, and the girls are going to be getting a call. And I'm just like, God damn it. Like, Aria's going to be the only one they don't look at, because Aria was like, no, keep her in. All the rest of them were like, let her out. Let's let her out. And they're going to be like, you only wanted her out so you could kill her. I don't know.
I guess we'll see what the cameras caught.
So they all turn back to look at the bell tower. Emily wants to go home, and Spencer says, we are home.
We are home.
And then we get, we love a little Patsy Cline.
Our mom's favorite song.
The songbird of Rosewood. Crazy. I can't do it like Mom. I'm sorry. It's impossible.
It's the one song Mom can really sing.
Crazy for feeling so lonely. There, that's me singing it like Mom low-key, and you know that was good.
And she also like takes such a deep breath before she sings that you can hear
crazy. Yes, exactly. So someone's
watching the girls, of course,
from a car, and the window gets rolled up, and we don't get the iconic pan out. You're right. Woo! It was a good episode. I feel rejuvenated with these girls. I'm like, okay, these are fresh, fun, new girls, and I'm excited to get to know them.
It's showing what the show, like, they were aware that they couldn't keep going down.
Right.
They needed just a fresh start if they were going to have another season of the show.
And it's nice, too, because it's like, it's so funny because we knew these girls so well. Like, it's like we knew everything about them. You know, we knew their day to day, everything that was happening to them. And now it's like there are 5 years missing from the things that we know. Like, we're going to learn so much. And I think it's going to be fun. It's going to reinvigorate us. And we're going to, guys, we have so much more lore to create. And somebody did write in and say they would love to hear us talk about what the Liars College experiences were like go through, like, what clubs they did, and like what their weekends were like and things like that, which I think would also be a great Pretty Little Punch Bowl episode. And I'm gonna do it right now live on air. I think we should do our first Pretty Little Punch Bowl episode this month. What do you think?
Okay.
So guys, on the Patreon, we're gonna try something called the Pretty Little Punch Bowl. We are going to talk about all of those Pretty Little Liars specific phenomenons and theories and things like that we don't super dive into here because we're going beat by beat for the show. So I think, I don't know which week it will be yet, but we're going to do a Pretty Little Punch Bowl where we will talk about, like, what do we think the Liars cocktails are? What do we think their whole college experiences were like? And we're going to have you guys send in more things you'd like us to world build and talk about. You guys always ask us to, like, talk about what their weddings would be like or things like that. And we just don't have the time in these episodes. So I think it's the perfect place. So make sure that you subscribe to our Patreon so that you can be a part of that and send us any ideas, submissions for it. All right, Phoebe, will you read us our synopsis for next week?
Questions about the new mysteries. Questions of wait. Season 6, episode 12, Charlotte's Web. Questions about the new mystery surface as the girls are forced to stay in Rosewood. A restless Aria starts to look suspicious as she heads back to Boston a little too quickly. But could Aria really be the one behind this? Yes.
I'm imagining Aria being like, guys, I have a life, okay? You might be able to just stay here, but like I have a life and dreams and a relationship to get back to in Boston. Boston is my home now. I even have a little bit of a Boston accent, and you guys haven't said anything about it, which is kind of bothering me, but
I've literally thrown Wicked into every single thing that I can.
Literally, like I've been saying like Wicked Pissa.
I literally said this
you
wedding
didn't even
is wicked.
You didn't notice me say this funeral is wicked? This wedding, what wedding?
Did I say wedding?
You sure did. Wow, Phoebe. That's actually so dark that you would even get those confused. Open casket and you got it confused. All right, guys, that's it from us. We love you so much. Make sure you've listened to our Tuesday pop culture episode because we have a lot to discuss. We love you so much and we will see you next week. And splat.